I think we're recording. Yep. Okay. Okay, so it's just a couple of questions, and you're welcome to kind of dive into it a little deeper or not. It's entirely up to you. So basically, just gonna ask you, what led you to your career here at Tavora? Was it school interests, previous work or internships, any certifications?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my background, I went to Cal State University Fullerton for computer science. I've always been into computers since I was younger. Did a lot of like modding and hacking stuff back in the day, but yeah, generally was around really more of software development. Computer science in general is a very broad subject. So electives range anywhere from like working on data science, machine learning, AI, coding some of those kind of things. Some of the different languages you'll learn is like C, Java, Python, Swift, mobile development, stuff like that. So that was really the focus of all my work there. And I liked it, but I knew software development, especially as like a job where it became kind of just, work 8 hours a day, just doing, building out different functions, applications, and everything wasn't my passion. I enjoy it, but more so as a hobby than making that my full-time work. And it was when I took a security class and started learning about just, the basics of encryption and how that kind of related to number theory. And I was also very into math. I almost like had a minor in there. So that stuff always appealed to me. And then it kind of naturally came as a progression because I was into the math of it. I was into, obviously, the whole appeal of cybersecurity is just a very cool field. Anything from, the hackers in movies to just being able to actually like be a part of that world was always interesting to me. So eventually, after I took that course, I realized I was super into it. And honestly, I kind of applied here during the CDP program. So that same kind of the deal internship wise. And it was when I started working that I was like, yeah, this is definitely like, I had a bit of a knack for it. Definitely like had no problem like doing this 8 hours a day. I enjoyed it. I always wanted to like go above and beyond and everything. I don't think we ever talked about this, but yeah, my CDP project was, I tried to mix it between the background I had in development to build that risk repository that we've probably talked about a few times, essentially trying to automate and make our risk writing job a little bit easier. And also I want, again, like the development stuff I loved, but only if it was like for something I was passionate about. So that made it super easy. And that's kind of what ultimately brought me to where I am today. It was, generally just computer science and tech is always cool. I always love it, but it was security that I found more of an ability to actually do like at most hours out of the day without it burning me out.
Cool. Let's see. I pretty much covered everything there. Do you have any certifications that are relevant to the industry?
Yeah, so I have probably like I think around a dozen for specifically in OneTrust. So that's everything around like third-party risk management, data management, enterprise risk management. Ooh, what else is in there? A lot of like website scanning stuff. So cookie, GDPR, those privacy regulation stuff. The more pertinent ones that are a little bit more well-known and recognized is going to be obviously Network Plus, Security Plus. What else? Technically a FedRAMP authorization that was specific to Vora. Don't know how applicable that is, but yeah, those I think cover all the ones I have right now.
Cool. Thank you. And then I guess what's kept you with Tavora up to this point? Why stay with Tavora? What's your
Right. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is basically kind of going to, from background to where I plan on going. I definitely want to stay in security. My plan is to become as much of an expert in all things security related. Basically, I want the knowledge of a security architect. Not necessarily going to plan on going into that role though. The best place for me to learn that is a consulting firm because you get exposed to all different types of organizations, anywhere from small to like large Fortune 500 companies to I worked a lot with the federal agencies and building out their programs. So I get a lot of exposure to how all these different organizations and agencies build out their security network, the programs they run, their priorities, what kind of tools they use. And it's pretty much the best place if you want to learn like just security in a nutshell. This is the best place to do it. It definitely is also a lot of work because you're in a consulting firm, you're kind of going 24/7, like all at all times, versus if I wanted to work just at a specific company, become really familiar and intimate with their tools, it'd be a little bit easier and you wouldn't have to work quite as much. But for my goals, that's what I wanted to do. So I can kind of speed run, basically becoming as much an expert as I can in the shortest time possible, because ultimately in the next few years, I want to do my PhD in quantum computing, because that's again where it's bringing together all that math that I liked, as well as all the tech that I like, into a field I did a lot of like research and studying into in my free time during my undergrad. And I wanted to use it with, so basically it would be quantum computing with an emphasis on how the repercussions will apply to the security field. Since I ideally at that point will have a good background in security, I should be able to speak pretty confidently and with authority on the subject. So when I'm learning about all the different things that quantum computing would bring into the world, I want to use that with an emphasis on how it's going to affect security as a whole.
Cool. Didn't know all that. That's really cool to learn, to hear about. Um, all right. And then I guess as of right now, what are some responsibilities within your role? How does it differ from, I hate to use the word superiors, but all that
No,
are.
yeah, I can definitely speak to that. So yeah, in my role, how would I describe this best? I lead on the enterprise risk management side. I lead risk assessments. So that's anything from taking the industry frameworks that a client is specifically wanting to be assessed against or wanting to be audited against, depending on how they want to structure that engagement. And then I will go through all the aspects of the security program: network administration, system administration, security awareness training, HR, anything that relates or has policies or procedures that follow under their specific framework or that could introduce risk to their information security systems or data. I'm going to go through and check all the security controls. I conduct interviews with their subject matter experts, the people who do the day-to-day, to get an understanding of how they're operating. Then I will meet with their kind of the more of the management, the leadership, so the CISOs, the CIO, and then we'll talk to them about what are their concerns, what are their priorities right now as far as like improving their security program. First identifying that they actually do look for this versus, if they're complacent and they think their program's great, then there's a lot of concern there. But yeah, we basically speak to them and then we draft it all together in that larger report where we kind of outline what we think are some of the more pressing concerns they should identify and prioritize in the coming year. And that's on the enterprise risk management front. I also work a lot on the third-party front. So that's where I do anything from build, design, and operate. So we'll go to companies and they may have nothing in place. They may have a very good third-party risk management program. We can kind of provide more direct consulting as far as like where can they improve, what are they assessing the right security controls from their vendors? Do they have the right contracts in place? Are they being overly exposed to some of the vendors they use? Are they accurately monitoring their vendors? For example, when Okta was breached earlier this year, did they know? Did they act in in a according fashion? Were they compromised? All those kind of things are what we help provide kind of advising on. And then we build out their specific tools and technologies to support them better. So TPRM is a very common area to be kind of understaffed and have a low resource allocation. So a lot of time they will outsource it to us to kind of help build all that stuff out, make their job easier. And if they really have no one there, we also perform that operate feature. So we'll actually run their whole third-party program with whatever tools they have. And I'll help sometimes do that work as well. So it's, basically everything that we said about building it out and making their team do it, we'll just do the same thing. We'll take over that role.
Awesome. That's cool. And then, so I guess, does that basically cover your day-to-day? Or
just about. Outside of there, and with like the role that I'm kind of moving into, I also do a lot of work on this helping the sales team out. So as you kind of like move up in like seniority, you eventually have to get more and more involved with the sales team, whether it's developing pre-sales material, identifying any kind of services or gaps in our field where we can potentially acquire more business, and then networking stuff. So actually having to like kind of go along and play that sales engineer role to explain the concepts to clients that our sales team can't fully do, or that the client ultimately wants a deeper understanding of. We'll kind of fill that role as well.
Awesome. And just kind of a side question, does everybody with the same title as you, do they do the same type, do they have the same type of responsibilities, or is this kind of just a you thing?
Yeah, let me think. Who else is my title right now? For the most part, yes and no. Technically, the pre-sale stuff is more along the analyst side of things. That's typically where you have to like, it becomes more of a formal responsibility. Um, I guess the formal responsibilities for my role would be the like leading the assessments and mentoring both you and other CD peers. I think that's where this lies. The work that I do as far as on third party fronts and the pre-sales side, as well as I guess mentoring the current associates we have, that probably falls more in line with the analyst role.
Okay, cool. Think that pretty much covers all my questions that I have for you. Thank you for answering everything.
Absolutely.
I think I need anything else. I'm gonna stop the recording now. Did it stop it?